Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Debra Eckerling, creator of the Deb Method for Goal Setting Simplified. I'm also the author of Your Goal Guide and 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting, how to stay focused, grow your network, and get more done in less time. I am all about the goals, and you can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So every week I bring together some of my people. I also host the Taste Buds with Deb podcast. So today we have foodie people because it is that time of year. Well, I like to talk about food all the time, but it is a holiday time. And especially if you're taking a break from like the chaos for cooking tips, you have come to the right place. I'm really psyched today. We have Aaron Hamburger, who's a novelist and, like me, a former non-cook, although he's like blown me out of the water because he's gone from, as opposed to me, who's gone from former non-cook to food writer and podcaster, he's like cookie maven, recipe developer. Well, I'll let him tell you. Babette Pepaj, who is the founder of Bakespace, and we're trying to figure out, we met in LA at least 10, 15 years ago at one of those IRL tech mixer things. And she's been doing a lot of fun and exciting techie, bringing friendly tech to your cooking, which she has been doing for years and years. So excited to hear. And CW Silverberg, who is the man behind Kosher. And he's got a series as well, Schmoozing Cruising. So so today is basically a foodie party without the food. Sorry, not sorry. You may be watching us as GoalChat Live or the replay, or listening to us as GoalChat on the Marketing Podcast Network. Yes, this counts as a marketing podcast. You just love that. And just jazzed to talk about food with everyone. So let's start by having you all introduce yourselves because, well, people know a little, but mostly they just know you're awesome. Aaron, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Great to be with you all today. So my name is Aaron Hamburger. I am a novelist. My last book, Hotel Cuba, came out in mid-2023. And I actually was just in Rome at the beginning of this month because I won an award called the Bridge Book Award. And so the prize is you get to go to Rome to accept it. And I had the most delicious pizza of my life. And crazy, it's funny, I had, of course, all this delicious Italian food, but probably the best meal that I had was like when I was in the airport going back, and I just got this like mozzarella prosciutto focaccia sandwich at like the equivalent of Starbucks there. And I took a bite and I was like, oh my God, this is like incredibly delicious. So I just love Italy because you always stumble into great food there. But anyway, so on top of being a novelist, I also do food writing and I come up with recipes and I also write about food. So it's a passion of mine, and I bake a lot. And I just finished, we were talking earlier, I just had my annual holiday baking party, cookie party, where I bake cookies like crazy and then I invite people to my house to eat them. So I don't eat them all myself. And this year I only made 31 different kinds of cookies. We were trying to count how many actual cookies were made, and the number is definitely in the thousands. So it was a great time.
Oh my goodness. And I interviewed you and CW on Taste Buds with Deb, so I will put those links in the comments. But I remember your cookie obsession very clearly from our previous conversation. And I am certain, because I know me, we will be talking more about cookies. But first, let's meet our other people. Babette, welcome. Great to see you.
Well, thank you for having me. And I apologize for my voice. I'm getting over the flu, so I'm finally feeling better today. It was like the first day that I feel together. But a little bit about me. I was a television producer and director for about 13, 14 years. I did a lot of reality shows, a lot of stuff you would have heard of, like The Real World, Road Rules, things like that. Shows got more obscure, pay got better, but more obscure. And then finally one day I was like, I think I'm done. I think I've pushed the human spirit as far as it can go. I need to change. And so I took a cake decorating class and I was like, wow, what is this food community? Who are these people? Why is everybody so nice? And why is the food delicious? Like, it was such a fun. I like discovered the feeling of making food for people, and not that I do it every day or that I'm a great cook at all, but I just really love the spirit. And so I started going online and was like, where is that? How can I continue that online? Because MySpace had just started. And there really wasn't anything that connected home cooks in real time to each other. So I thought, oh, well, why don't I create a recipe swap website that people could upload their recipes and then they start swapping with their friends. And I built a community around that and had no tech experience. It was 2006. It was like off the shelf programming. I mean, it was just like every wrong move you could ever make in tech, like I made it. And it took off. Like it was just I had all these brides joining, and it was just it's a great community. And over the course of, now we've been in business for like 18 years. We've gone from being a recipe swap to being a recipe swap plus a DIY cookbook publisher that allows our members to create cookbooks and then sell them in our marketplace. And then we just launched this new thing, which I'm sure your panelists are going to have. It's going to be a little controversy. I didn't realize I was going to be with some food writers because it's controversial. But we launched an AI tool, and it's not just a recipe generator like most tools that you see. It helps cooks through the entire process of cooking. So coming up with ideas, brainstorming issues, actually helping them cook in real time with like voice activated cook mode, things where it's like, I don't have buttermilk. What do I use? I'm in the middle of making my ingredients. And so we look at it like it's like the next evolution of helping home cooks when they need us most. So it's not just, providing a platform for recipes, but it's also providing a community and that they can base their AI on like a real community. It's not just the AI talking to AI talking to AI. There's a lot of recipe generators out there, so we're a little bit different. It's called BakeBot, and it's on Bakespace, but it's also on bakebotpro.com. And we're really excited about where we're going with it and the evolution. And it's just exciting to see what people create, because it made me more creative. I'm thinking with your cookies, I keep thinking of all the times I've tried to make cookies recently, and it's like all these different ingredients that I would have never thought of before. And I'd love to get your take one day, Aaron.
I actually needed you because I was making a couple of cookies and I had the wrong ingredient, or I thought I had gotten something. And of course, like at the last minute, I'm always like Googling, like, what is the substitute for blankety blank?
Yeah.
So
when you got to wade through like a billion search results, you're like, I just need the answer. I need the answer now. My cookies are burning. No, that's exactly it. So I'm super excited about being here today.
And this is how my panels evolve, is I pick a topic and a person, and then I pick another person and another person. And this is like the best case scenario of, I needed you, but now I need you more. Amazing. CW, great to see you. Welcome.
Hi, how you doing? Sorry, I'm going
I get to talk about food on my non-food show, so I'm great.
Well, I'm CW. I am the host of the web series called Tripping Kosher, where for, I don't know, the past 10 years, we've been kind of like cultural kosher anthropologists, just kind of consuming all the good food in America that also happens to be kosher and expressing how it is a lifestyle. And I'm just enjoying myself. I also host a TV show on something called Highflix, which is called Schmoozing Cruising, which is more of a television 30-minute version of the web series. But mostly I just like to eat and cook, and I'm nowhere near as accomplished as Babette or as Cookie Author Guy, but I am glad to be here to throw some jokes around.
I'm curious about I have friends who do kosher, and I'm just really curious.
So happy for you to like. Well, I mean, you were talking about a recipe generator. You have CookieBot, CakeBot, BakeBot. BakeBot is a perfect example of where like a kosher cultural example of like being an American, right? So I'm in America and I need a list of recipes, right? But I can't use lard because I keep kosher. So most of America, I think, can easily make the switch to some other, especially now, plant-based butter or whatnot. But let's say you get to like an ingredient that I cannot find kosher, right? Some sort of extract or some sort of something that's just so very specific in nature, it just doesn't exist, right? Nobody's gone to look at it and be like, oh, these are kosher safe ingredients, yada, yada, right? then you hit the kosher widget on BakeBot, and it just adds those extra parameters. See, it's all we're all universal. I don't know if I'm getting too
absolutely.
abstract, but I just
We
like
don't
I
have a
like your
button for
idea.
that. You just do it typing, make this kosher. Actually, it works on
Yeah.
every recipe too.
It works.
Because I was a vegetarian, and because I had to change my whole diet, I was so frustrated with going to restaurants that I thought, oh my God, this is crazy. So my idea is not it's so that you don't have to change where you're at. You just say it like, I need it for something else. Like I don't need it for the chicken or the beef or whatever it is. But the kosher stuff, I'm really excited about talking to you about that.
Well, we live in the future now. We're again going to a vegetarian, getting vegetarian at a restaurant's not a problem, right? Right. Going to a vegetarian restaurant's not a problem. Plant-based is, a future that we exist in. Everything's pretty much darn kosher anyways.
Yeah.
It's a good life for me.
You'd be surprised. My husband is pescatarian, but vegetarian. And when he travels, particularly like, for example, in the Midwest, he's like, everything is meat. Like there is nothing on this menu that does not have meat on it, And I'm always surprised by how difficult he still finds it today to be vegetarian and travel, So like on the coast,
like the salad. It's like we do have a vegetarian option.
Right.
It's the salad. I'm like, that's not the vegetarian option.
The iceberg lettuce I grew up eating, like with ranch.
Actually, I'm no longer a vegetarian. I stopped being a vegetarian like a year ago, and my husband is totally freaked out now. He's like, I don't understand what happened. I'm like, a switch went off. I don't know. It just happened. And he's like, okay, let's do this thing. And then I wanted steak nonstop the whole time. He's like, this is wrong. It's like, don't do this. But no, it's funny. We change, as we age, grow, mature, whatever. Our bodies like want something different. So
it's okay. Okay.
So Babette, so your husband is what you are. So was he a vegetarian when you were? And then he said, okay, great, we're eating meat again. Or now he just gets to eat whatever he wants now because you no longer have vegetarian
before I became a vegetarian, we would share meals. So like we'd go to a restaurant, and if like I wanted to try something, but then I wanted to try something else, like we could get them both and then we could split them, or we just get one because sometimes the portions are so big that we're like, well, let's just share it and save, like $100 on like one item. And then
what restaurants are you going to that are charging $100?
Oh, Paquito Mas is like $40 now. I mean, it's crazy. And it's one of my favorite little restaurants. I mean, we used to spend $14 on 2 meals there for like 10 years. And then all of a sudden it's like $28. It's just crazy, but that's not besides the point. But then when I became a vegetarian, if he wanted to share, he had to eat vegetarian with me because I couldn't eat the other thing. But then once I now it's funny now as a non-vegetarian, because I hadn't had meat for like 15 years, when I eat meat, it's like, do I like the taste of it? It's not just like, oh, I eat chicken. That's how I do it. If in the beginning I ate chicken and I was like, oh, I don't think I like chicken. Like, I don't like the taste of it, but it's how it was prepared. It's like this weird thing now where when you don't have something for so long, like sugar probably is the same way. It's like you take one bite of it and you're like, oh, I could not eat this. I don't care how much I ate chicken, tenders as a child or as an adult, whatever it is. But yeah.
And Aaron, you're in DC? Am I remembering correctly? So is your husband from like a Western state that had vegetarian foods that weren't salad? Or has he just always had a challenge? Because when you said it, I grew up in the Chicago suburbs, and you were absolutely right. In the Midwest, salad is the vegetarian option.
Right. No, he grew up, he was born in New York, grew up in Long Island, moved back to New York, for NYU college, and then like lived there forever until we moved down to DC about a decade ago. So definitely, yeah. I mean, here in New York, it's generally not a problem. Although, you'd be surprised, like even just going out to restaurants here in DC, like there's just a ton of like meat-based dishes, but when he sometimes travels for work and, he goes away from like the big cities, like menus are just like very heavily sort of meat dominated.
It also reminds me of, so when I had a friend from college in Wisconsin who was she was a teacher on a field trip and she had a layover. And because we were friends, we just went to grab a bite to eat. And I'm like, what do you want? She said, Mexican food. I'm like, great. We've got this, 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 and this. And she said, no, I want Taco Bell.
Oh yeah. Okay, I have this weird Taco Bell fixation. Like Mexican is probably my favorite.
But that's not Taco Bell.
Then there's Taco Bell, which is not Mexican food. It's its own thing. And it brings me back to like senior year of high school when we went out to lunch, like signed out for lunch, went to Tel 12 Mall. And those of you in the Detroit area, you know what I'm talking about. And we went to the food court and like you got the Taco Bell. And like that one taste of that will bring me like right back to 17 years old. So
is that at 12 Mile?
12 Mile and Telegraph.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. They have the movie theater, or that was the one on 11 Coolidge or whatever. I don't remember.
No, they didn't have a movie theater there, but there was one further down.
Whatever. I kind of, so this kind of plays into the kosher part. Like when I'm traveling around the country, what I like to show off is how accessible kosher can be. And when you're in a small town where there's no kosher options, the vegan place or the Indian place, the vegetarian place, whatever it will be, the rabbis or somebody will come in and they'll negotiate it out and they'll figure out a way to make it accessible for the entire community. So like the best vegetarian Indian joints in the country are like kosher certified. Some of them are, you know, like Nashville. The best vegetarian Indian joint in Nashville is a fully kosher restaurant. I'm blanking on the name. It's like probably Windwood or, you know, Foresty Wind or I don't know, something like that. But like the vegan joints have really helped the kosher consumer because there are people like kosher is kind of, we use that word spectrum for everything now, but it's a broad variety of how people keep kosher. Some keep full kosher, some keep kosher in the home, some don't really keep kosher, some don't eat pork, some are kosher style. It doesn't matter. We're just here to kind of, you know, show how broad it is. But there's a vast majority of kosher keepers who in America who kind of like are okay with the vegan eating out. So if I'm traveling somewhere and there's a vegan burger spot, which fully exists now, right? Like I, you know, push come to shove, maybe I would eat there, but a lot of them are kosher. And then I'm with you, Aaron, on this Taco Bell thing because there's Mexican, which I love, and one of my favorite. But then there's something called Taco Bell, and because we have plant-based now, there's a debate in kosher between whether you eat, because kosher meat and milk don't mix. So the debate now with all the products that we have, do you have real meat with fake cheese and that's how you do the dish? Or do you have fake meat, real cheese? And like, it's gotten really hard now because there's some really good examples of like some really good fake cheese, Miyokas, whatnot. I'm still a real cheese, fake beef kind of guy because I grew up on Morningstar. But like I make something called Schmaco Bell, which is just straight up garbage Taco Bell. And like you shredded lettuce, you got the sauce, you make some beans, like you throw it down. My kids do it. My kids love it. It's my
so I do in actually I think it was in Cooks Illustrated, they did like an issue where they had plant-based meatballs, spaghetti meatballs, and then plant-based taco meat filling. And I used like the Impossible, the ground meat, not the premium papers, but like the packages. And I'm totally with you, like the fake meat, but then like real Parmesan cheese and
do
like,
it right. Like I would open a takeout restaurant with just quickie, like kind of slightly like marijuana's legal, so you know, late night cheesy, you know. Like my favorite cafe in the entire country, one of my favorite cafes. I don't like to say favorite because they're all good, all food is good, you know, that kind of thing. My favorite cafe is in the JCC in the Valley of the Rising Sun in Arizona, and it is called, God, I'm blanking on the names. We're gonna have to share the links later. I'll give them all to you, the videos. It is just this cute little cafe in this very nice, you know, Arizona space, just looks Arizona. And there's this European guy, this French Moroccan guy who runs this beautiful, like un petit, as he would say, little cafe. And he was one of the first guys that ever introduced us to the like just taking the plant-based protein and adding milk, which is not a flavor that my genetics identify with. And it works and it's fantastic. He was doing it the right way. Real the Parmesan, everything's just this little cafe, but all the pastas are fresh. Everything is like crazy. And he leaned in heavily into the plant-based and just blew our minds. That meatball thing, I use that meatball thing as an example for people who just, because it's a hard stretch for somebody who's always kept kosher to be like, oh, here's an absolutely trafe flavor. Like, absolutely. I had a kosher Cubano sandwich last week, and I was convinced. It wasn't. I was Josh's Deli in Surfside, Florida. That's it. Okay.
Is
Somebody
there
else's
really
turn. How you doing?
anything? Is there really anything better than like good cheese, though?
No, so
No,
that's why I have a hard
no.
time. The plant-based cheese is like there's some aged ones,
Yeah.
there's some really interesting things. I'm with you, Aaron. Like there, but like we're so done. Like there are plenty of spaces for like a cheese sauce, right? If you want to go fancy cheese plate, all right, I'm with you. Right, it's not happening yet. But like you want to make a fake cheese sauce for your kosher, Arby's, cheese cheddar on beef, like that's what I'm making. Right, it works. It works. It's plasticky and wonderful in the same way.
So what are people making for the holidays? Like what's sort of the plan?
Oh, I'm sneaking my kids out for vacation. I refuse to cook this week. I'm like, you know what? When they come together, when it's Christmas and Hanukkah, like that's pressure, right? Because like, are we eating
Don't
Chinese
do
food?
nothing.
Am I? So I was thinking about doing a noodle latke, because the rules I think with latke are as long as they're fried, right? So I was going to do like a crispy noodle, but doing that as a latke and maybe something on top. But I am taking my kids on. I'm avoiding it all. I'm just still not sure if I'm eating Chinese tomorrow night. So, figuring it out.
I have a fake huggle that I make in the air fryer.
Yeah.
So it's just noodles and eggs.
Waffle maker.
Mix them together. Put whatever I have. If it's apples or raisins or whatever, a little vanilla, and I just pop it in the air fryer, and it is so much easier than doing a formal thing and then baking it for.
Well, I use a waffle maker for everything on Hanukkah because it's one thing and all batters work in it and all the batters mix together at the end and it tastes delicious. We did a kanafe latke once, I think. Not a kanafe, kanafe with like the cheese inside and syrup, but we put it in the waffle maker and we called it a latke. What did we call it? A waffle? We probably had a cool name for it. We probably had a cool name for it. I don't remember. Whatever. It's a long time. There's so many videos that we're going to get to reference later in the notes. It's great. But
I lost my taste buds right now, so I've been really strange where my husband's been bringing Christmas cookies home, and I look at them, I'm like, I'm gonna eat it, but I'm not gonna taste it. But in my mind, I'm envisioning that I'm enjoying it because I'm like, that's delicious, it's cookie. But then we just had some pupusas from Costco today that we made, and I told my husband, I'm like, okay, these are beef. I'm like, is there anything in the package that isn't something I would normally eat because I can't taste it? And he's like, no, don't worry. I said, is it spicy? I don't like spicy. And he's like, no. And I ate it. And I'm thinking to myself, I kept looking at him going, are you sure this isn't spicy? And as you can tell, like, I don't have any taste buds. He's like, no, it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. He's like, it might be spicy for you, but not for me. But with the food right now, we have not been cooking at all, but I've been like entrenched in food content, like just seeing recipes made and seeing what people are doing and seeing what people are searching for. And I'm very jealous about what everyone's making, but I have not been able to, I haven't been able to eat it. So it's actually kind of good because I've been losing a couple pounds. So I'm looking at this like first holiday season where I'm going to come up ahead, Well,
I have a game changer for latkes, which I found out about through the Washington Post, which is if you go to the supermarket to where like all the breakfast food refrigerator is, they have the pre-shredded potatoes for hash browns. It is the only way now that I will make latkes. Like I am done grating potatoes forever. And not only because they're already grated, but they're all dry already. So you don't have to squeeze out the water. And they make like the crispiest, fluffiest, like best latkes ever. So that is what I'm going to be doing.
Aaron, that's the number one. It's one of the number one Hanukkah things I've been telling people for years. And they're like, what do you mean shredded potatoes? And first of all, they're like, they're kosher, And I'm like, yeah, they got an OU. They got kosher symbols, every potato. Brand. It's just shredded potato in every freezer refrigerator. And it saves hours. And then, the second, that Aaron's like legit because he's talking about how dry they are. That's like, you have to be like, that's the and then throw it in the waffle maker.
Right.
Or in the oven. Nobody knows that too. You can form them and throw them in the oven. Like,
are they frozen? Are they frozen originally?
No, these are
shreds
refrigerated.
They have
Oh,
both.
just refrigerator.
Yep.
Okay, that's good. Because with like rhubarb, I made rhubarb pie recently, and they said, and it was only available in the freezer section. But they said when you use freezer rhubarb or anything, let it thaw completely. Which intuitively you think, oh, I'll keep it fresh. I'll keep it in the freezer and whatever. It's like no, let it thaw and put it on paper towels to absorb all the moisture, and then it won't make your pie moist. I bet it has the same. It's the same theory there. Maybe if somebody gets frozen potato.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. It really doesn't make that much of a difference
freeze.
because it's
okay.
Because they're kind of IQF frozen the way they freeze them. It's not like they're dunking them in water and freezing the water.
Yeah,
it's a product that, if frozen correctly, should shake it off.
Yeah,
But what are the holiday baking trends on Bakespace.com, Babette? Because you hold all that information, and I am hella curious. You got
wait, before we go to the trends, I loved your answer to the favorite appliance. So I need Aaron and Babette's answer.
Oh.
So what is it? And mine is the air fryer because I use little paper thingies because it's like no cleanup.
Okay.
And you can make just about anything in it. So Aaron,
my favorite appliance, well, of course, the stand mixer is like the workhorse of the season, but my favorite appliance is actually more of a tool. It is I don't know what to call it. It's a chocolate dipper. Basically what it is, it's like a stick that has like a circle at the end of it with like tines, and it's for dipping things into melted chocolate. Because they're like, every recipe is like, oh, put your cookie like on a fork and then like dip it in the melted chocolate, and the cookie always like falls off of the fork, and then I can't fish it out. But this thing has actual like a kind of bowl with like tines, and like when you're dipping things into chocolate, it is like my favorite thing of like making cookies for the holiday season is that chocolate dipper. So anybody who's into baking cookies for the holidays, you got to get one of these things. It's like maybe $7 and it will change your life.
That's awesome. And you made how many thousand cookies?
We're in the thousands, but including, so I make these, they're like Oreos. They're like homemade Oreos with a mint flavored filling. And then they're dipped in chocolate. The whole thing gets dipped in chocolate. And I made about like 65 of those. So that's a lot of dipping. I alternate between that and like Girl Scouts Thin Mint style cookies. So
do you put your own little Aaron Hamburger on the Oreo like a stamp?
I don't, but another of my favorite tools is I ordered this embossed wooden rolling pin from Poland. And when you roll out the dough, it makes these beautiful like paisley and floral designs on it. And then you can cut out like little like chocolate cookies so that it looks like an Oreo, but like with beautiful floral designs. So that's another favorite baking tool.
I always see those things and I go, ooh, I mean, it's like something where you never almost buy for yourself, something like that, because it's so pretty. But you say that it's good. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel bad that mine isn't really a cooking tool. It's my my water kettle, because every day it prevents me from burning down my house. Like it is the one thing that I use every day. I use it multiple times a day. I like that I can just turn it on, and if I forget it, it comes off. And then my second item, I just realized I do have one thing. My egg maker, the one that actually I put eggs in and then it'll actually make them hard-boiled eggs. It's like an automatic little machine, and that has been a game changer for me. That I just put the water in the little thing, pop the little holes in the little eggs, turn the little thing on, like 8 minutes later I have hard-boiled eggs that are all perfect. That's been like a total game changer for me, which sounds, it's not that impressive, but I see other people online going, this is the machine that changed my life. And I was like, yes, it's true.
We use one every day in our house, but it makes a very scary noise when it's ready.
Yeah.
And it is so loud and piercing. It just goes, like it's a mean noise. It's a mean noise. Like, take your damn eggs.
Yeah, I know. They should change it like your when your dryer's done, and it's like a little musical note,
little ding dong, a little it would be fine. But it's you can hear it throughout the house. It's a like you.
Let's remind you, don't leave it on.
Wow. I think it turns itself off. I don't know, but it still makes noise.
I don't think so because
Oh,
it
it
keeps
just makes
going.
noise until you.
Yes,
See?
yes, you gotta
Yeah,
you gotta hit
yeah.
that button.
My favorite, most annoying appliance. That's great.
Yeah, yeah.
The waffle maker don't make noise at you. You know,
You know, I have a
See,
miniature
that's
waffle
the
maker.
issue that I always had with waffle makers because it's not always accurate.
oh
Especially
no,
when you're
yeah.
making things that aren't waffles
Mhm.
in them.
I always
Oh.
wanted one of those waffle makers you get at like the Holiday Inn, you know, where it's like you put the waffle stuff in, you know, and then you like turn it over. I've always wanted one of those like
What I
high-end
use, but you're right. Unless it's a really good one, they're not. You just have to,
Yeah.
you know, you burn some.
You know, I have a really good Pillsbury Bake Off story. It's real quick. We had a member who made it into the Pillsbury Bake Off years ago, and she had a waffle recipe. It was like I think it was like a toffee chip waffle recipe, and I was able to go see her. It was really fun. We took pictures. It was really awesome. And she had made that recipe. Most people who do the Pillsbury Bake Off make the recipe like 300 times before the actual competition because they want to make sure everything's right. But what she didn't count on was that she would have better taste in appliances than the actual bake off. So her appliance was like top of the line waffle maker that would make it perfectly. So she knew exactly how many minutes it would be. But then they gave her this really cheap, you know, terrible waffle maker. And she was like, oh no, it's like, I do like a Belgian waffle. These are like tiny, thin little waffles. Like it's just not going to be good. It completely messed her up. So if you're going to do the Pillsbury Bake Off, which I don't even know if they do that anymore.
They do. It's a Minnesota thing. They still.
Oh, they
do.
do.
It.
Okay. You know, if you do that,
Big
try it
deal.
on every type of appliance. A bad oven that doesn't have anything, so that you know how to prepare for that. But yeah, the waffle things. I just remember that always.
No, it's amazing how like these sort of like the machines and everything make such a huge difference. So I have these baking sheets that I bought at a restaurant supply store like many, many, many years ago, and they are like battered and like have like they're like, you know, they look like hell, but they bake the best cookies. And I bought some new sheets because of first, like sometimes I do like for like a shower, like, well, oh, let's make like Pop-Tarts as like an activity, you know, like homemade Pop-Tarts. And so I was like, well, I can't bring these battered sheets. So I bought these new sparkling silver sheets, and nothing comes out as good on the sparkling new silver sheets, like the battered restaurant supply that have been through like hell and back. They make the best cookies, you know? And so you just have to know your equipment, and you know, it's not about looks all the time. Sometimes it's just about, you know,
I closed down. I had a catering kitchen, and I took all the equipment in the catering kitchen, and I said, I'm not going to spend $100 million on a wolf that we're going to kill in 2 seconds. Like, you know, I'm going to fry whatever board. I'm going to take my old beat up, you know, 6-burner, whatever, 2 doors. And I installed everything in my kitchen, and it blows. That's what people don't understand when they come to my kitchen. Like, wow, this is so great. I'm like, yeah, I'm just using a giant sheet pan in a giant oven. It's going to work. You know, it's all gas. Like, Aaron, you're going to come visit. I also have,
oh, good.
But I also do like totally primitive also. And I have like primitive waffle irons. I'd have fire pits and live fire cooking. And that's my favorite kind. I don't really bake like you guys. You guys are like real bakers. I you know, I'll do a basic dough and fire. I can't accomplish what you guys are doing. Yeah, I'll take care of dinner. You guys can rock dessert.
It sounds good.
I'm curious, Aaron, have you ever waffled cookie dough?
No, I don't. You know, I don't have.
It works.
I bet it would be good.
It works.
Yeah,
it works.
Yeah.
You know what else works in a waffle iron?
What?
Everything.
It's I'm from the sandwich maker era. Like I survived high school, right, with a sandwich maker. I lived in a boarding school. Like everything you could make in a you remember the infomercials, right? Even the Betty Crocker.
I'm trying to think sandwich makers, like at school where it would like go through and warm. You know,
no.
Like,
the ones that fold. You put the bread and you put the cheese in the middle and you closed it. It was a waffle iron for sandwiches.
You're talking about what's his name? Like the celebrity who
No, that was the grill. That was the grill.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the general. In the 90s, every kid in the early 90s, every kid got home from school and they just.
You know what? I might be a little older. I might be like that next generation older.
In the early 90s, Okay, in the early 90s. Yeah, everyone.
I might still be a little bit old. No, I'm
I
just kidding.
won't
I'm
tell
not
nobody, but it's a sandwich maker. But so to me, everything just belongs in a waffle iron, anyways, because that's like
Yeah.
if you look for the late night infomercials, it's like you could cook a steak in it, and you put a steak in it. Like
Yeah.
everything. So waffle irons work everything for me. So I'm gonna go put cookie dough in a waffle iron
do
after
it.
we're done
Sounds
with
delicious.
this. Yeah, I'm not showing it off. I'm just eating it.
Well, I think that's the point too. So we're talking, and probably we can address holiday cooking a little because we've gone off the rails, which is my favorite kind of conversation. But when you have an appliance, it's so easy that you can make almost everything in it. It just kind of makes your life easier anyway, and you want to cook more, right?
There's some really good equipment right now. You can now buy little ovens, like little convection ovens, like your air fryer, but imagine that it's just a little bigger, and they're fully programmable and scientific. You just put a chicken in there and you say chicken, and it'll cook you the best chicken you've ever had, right? So
I have one of the George Foreman rotisseries that I have not used in years, but I recently played around in storage and I found it, and I'm like, George, so good to see you. Will I ever do a round and round chicken again? Not when making chicken and soup or chicken in the air fryer is so easy, but it's an option, right?
I do rotisserie chicken all day. It's everybody's number one, right? Who couldn't, now that you're eating chicken again, Babette.
Yeah.
Could you eat a whole rotisserie chicken when nobody's looking?
You know what? I have discovered the Costco $4.99 chicken.
Yeah, there you go.
But my problem is that I only like the white meat. I don't like the leg. So it's like I end up having like a bird.
You make soup.
I feel
I'm
terrible.
the opposite. We'll get together and I'll have you.
And then my husband won't do the legs either. So I'm like, I look at the bird and I go, this is terrible. Like, who can I donate these legs to? It's very good. But yeah,
I had a neighbor who I would give the legs and the dark meat to, because when I started cooking, that's the easiest thing is to make with the rotisserie chicken. You make the chicken soup. After she moved, I graduated to just making chicken breast chicken soup, which I also love because then you've got all this chicken that you can make other things with. But yes, if you do not have a person to share the dark meat with, or maybe if you and Aaron lived closer, you could have like a chicken exchange program.
I just can't believe it's only $4.99. I'm like, how is this whole chicken? It had to go from an egg to a chicken.
They own the production. They raise the chickens. They own the farms, and they lose money on it every time.
Yeah.
But
it's also in the back of Costco, so you have to go past everything to get to the chicken.
It's the most famous loss leader, and there's a video that just came out by Weird Science or one of these, web series, television show series that just did a whole explainer on the Costco chicken. The whole explainer on why people love chicken. There is a brief cameo by me, which was not solicited.
Oh,
which
nice.
is very exciting. No, that's how I know about the video. People were like, "Hey, you've been spotted." I don't know, but they have just this exact conversation. How does that chicken happen? But everybody loves a rotisserie chicken. Deb, chicken soup, I guess, is probably your number one food. It's one of my number one foods too, because you can do everything with it.
Yes. And it's my second favorite appliance is the Instant Pot, which, by the way, also makes our hard-boiled eggs that are super easy to peel.
Oh, okay.
Love the Instant Pot.
And so
I do not have an Instant Pot. I did not. That was like the one thing I did not jump into. But I do have a whole bunch of I had a partnership with KitchenAid for a long time, and I have quite a few of appliances that are KitchenAid that are just like in boxes still. I'm just hoping to use those one day. I have like one slow cooker. I took it out of the box and I was like, I will use this. But I haven't used it yet, which is crazy. It's like now the technology, I don't even know if the plug is still the same. It's like, I'm just kidding. It totally works.
Well, see, that's why I don't use the pressure. I have a pressure cooker. It's too many buttons. And I mean, I have the Instapot. The Instapot, too many buttons. So I just use a pressure cooker. I have pressure cookers galore. But the Instapot is too confusing. I
use my Instapot as a pressure cooker because my pressure cooker broke, and I had to replace it, and I couldn't find them anymore. And I was like, let me use this Instapot, and I pretty much use it just for
Well,
pressure
I
function.
just too many buttons. Don't give me options. I will turn it on and I will turn it off.
It is the fact that the Instant Pot has too many buttons is
Oh.
that's what because I got it for my
That's
mom, and she said it's my gift, you learning how to use this.
I'm only
And
good
that
at
was my gateway appliance, because we both figured it out and it was so easy. I love that you could put in ingredients and then go do other stuff.
Yeah.
I'm only good at one thing, and that one thing is taking something out of the oven. Okay, that's my only skill. Don't give me a button. I can't do it. It doesn't work for me.
So, Aaron, when you are not baking cookies, what are you making that's actual food?
Cookies are actual food.
I'm sorry. I interviewed somebody for my January taste buds, and it was a chocolate person, and then separately a broth person. And the broth person said it's not like lava cake broth you actually need. And I said, well, there are people who would argue that you also need lava cakes.
Yes,
that's true.
Well, I actually just made so there's this cookbook called I think it's a Weeknight Mediterranean by Christopher Kimball for the Milk Street Kitchen. So he has a great recipe for this is not for my good friend CW, but with shrimp.
Okay. I'm a big fan of Kimball. Old school.
With shrimp, spinach, dill, rice, and lemon, and it's just like a one-pot meal recipe. And so put that together, and then I have all these onions that I've been sitting around my kitchen because I bought like a whole bunch of onions for Thanksgiving, and like I finally need to use them. So tomorrow night I'm going to make majedra, which is this Middle Eastern spice. It's like beautiful melange of spices with rice, and then you fry these onions, and they get really crispy, and you mix it in with the rice and lentils. This is really hearty dish, and then really delicious with like some Greek yogurt on top. And then I make like an Israeli salad and some homemade hummus with that and pita, and you've got like a luxury meal. So, so those are that's coming up on the menu. And then
what time is dinner? What time is dinner?
Come on over tomorrow, 6:30. Yeah.
I order
the latkes with the shredded potatoes. And then I like to make a kugel. I make my mom's kugel, which has like the canned chunk pineapple, has to be pineapple, and the cottage cheese, and all the other things, and then the cornflake crumb brown sugar topping. Like
that's a classic I did not grow up with. It's different ends of like that Jewish American experience. It's for me it's probably potato and like salt and peppers. Maybe like my the cheese pineapple one is where like Jews got comfortable in America.
Right. Is he like pineapple?
Like, put some pineapple in there.
Yeah.
He likes it.
Google. Absolutely.
What is the easiest, fanciest thing you all make?
Oh, the chicken, just a roast chicken, right? You could listen, we all understand the significance of a rotisserie chicken, and all you do is you put it on a prettier plate and like woo. It's like the best thing to do.
I would say I do a skillet spinach pie. So you make like a Greek spanakopita, and you make the filling and you put it on the bottom of the skillet. And then you get phyllo dough, and you just like brush each layer. Instead of like making the little triangles, you just put the sheets like over and over, make a topping, and then you grab the leftover sheets and you just soak them in butter, and you kind of crunch them, and it makes a rosette, and you plop it like on the top. And when it bakes up, it comes out of the oven. It looks like this rows of like phyllo dough on top. And then you cut it into these slices, and you serve that with some tzatziki and a nice Greek salad, maybe some roasted potatoes or rice that you make in the Instant Pot. And you have this like beautiful meal that people really, really love. And it's vegetarian. So
wait, and it's a spinach pie?
So it's like all the filling of the spinach pie, and you just make it in. You actually like saute the onions for the spinach filling like in the oven safe skillet, and then you mix them with your spinach, your feta cheese, ricotta, egg, dill and parsley, salt and pepper. I think that's everything. And then you top it with the phyllo dough, and you bake it. And it's like as my mom would say, one big shissel. You make the whole thing, And the presentation is so impressive, but it's actually really easy to put together. Much easier than making, because I also make the spanakopita pockets. We make little triangles and you have to fold it like individually, which is a lot more work. But just making one big thing that you cut into is a lot easier.
Definitely.
Sounds delicious.
So, Babette, do you have an easy, fancy thing?
It's funny. I don't do a lot of fancy stuff, but I've like tricked my husband into thinking soda bread is fancy because he's like all of a sudden I was like I had to test BakeBot and to see like what it would do for ingredient swaps. And I'm like, I don't have buttermilk. What else can I use? I have honey. I want to use Greek yogurt. I want to use blah, 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 whatever. I would do the changes and I would make him a different variation of it, like almost like every couple days. And sometimes he hated it. And sometimes he was like, but then finally we were at Costco like a month ago. And he's like, hey, I was like, hey, do you want to get some bread at Costco? And he's like, no, your bread has been pretty good. And so he actually preferred my soda bread over the Costco bread, which I thought that was the compliment of a lifetime, because their bread is pretty good. But it was just so sweet. But it looks like, when he comes home and he sees like fresh homemade bread, it's like he's completely confused by, thinking, oh, this is the fancy bread. So I do that. And I do like to bake. So I like making cupcakes. I like making cookies. But my taste is much different than my husband's. I like sweet stuff. I like cheesecakes. He doesn't. So it's not like if I made
More
a dessert.
for you.
Yeah, I know, but then it would be more for me. Because I tell him sometimes, like if he leaves ice cream, I'm like, you don't understand. My DNA, my mother could eat a whole gallon of ice cream. This is like part of my being. Like, don't leave it here. Don't leave it with me. Because if I don't go to the grocery, it's funny. Being in food, you would think I love to go to the grocery store. It's the thing I hate the most.
It's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. There's so many decisions, and it's like it's like a machine. It's like put the thing in the bag and here we go, and now we're gonna roll down this other lane and we're gonna take some stuff out of a thing and put it in our cart, and it's just like, oh my God, I hate it. I just hate it so much. But I like that Eric goes to the grocery store. He gets all the good food. I would never buy broccoli, but he gets it for us and we should eat it. So he comes home, I'm like his maid. I take his bags and put them into the refrigerator. So it's kind of like a funny thing, but that was the agreement. I do dishes during the pandemic and he does the grocery shopping. And we just kept it after the pandemic. I was like, this actually works. I don't have to go to the grocery store. And also, if he takes me to the grocery store, when I was a kid, well, we were pretty poor. So it's like, when I'd go to the grocery store, my mom and I would we would go because we were hungry, but also because we wanted to eat something sweet or we wanted to treat ourselves. So for me, going to the grocery store, it's like, I find the one thing at the grocery store where I go, ooh, the Pop-Tarts, let's get those. And he's like, no, you're not 5 anymore. You can't eat those. And I'm like, but now I can eat them if I want to. And he goes, nope. So it's like, it's just different for me. It's not a, I don't know. It's just not a pleasurable experience, but I do love farmers markets, and I love exploring new restaurants and new places and different foods. I just don't like that commercial vibe of a grocery store. If the grocery store seems like a market, it's like a little bodega or it's like a little find, then I think it's kind of interesting. I go, ooh, what do we got here? What's this kind of fruit? What does this do? But I don't like the big, 50 stacks of this product and 50 stacks of that product. But I do like Costco. I do, because Costco, I always find something unique and interesting. And I'm like, chocolate covered mango. I'm like, I'll take that. And it's so big. It's like you get it and it's like, it's going to feed me for 8 years. I'm like.
Costco. Yep. You go first, Aaron. It's all you, baby.
I just was thinking, about something fancy that's actually easy to do. One thing I think you can do to make something seem fancy, if it's not, is to make a mini version of it.
Oh.
So a small version of whatever the thing is, kind of makes it seem fancier. And I was thinking about it when you mentioned Pop-Tarts, because I make homemade Pop-Tarts, but I like to feed a crowd. So I make these like mini homemade Pop-Tarts, you know, or
That's
like,
cute.
yeah, like any kind of mini dessert. And then like if you give people like a plate of like various like mini things, like that seems like fancier than like just kind of like a big honkin' like homemade Pop-Tart, which is also delicious, but doesn't have that same elegance.
And you can eat more of them
And you can
because
eat
they
more.
don't count.
This is the thing. So I did like I told you about those homemade Oreos that I make. So the original recipe calls for them to be like about like 3-inch in diameter, and I made them like 1-inch in diameter. I actually could have made them even like smaller because they still like were quite big. But the thing is, like, if it's like a big thing, when people come to the party, they're like, oh my God, that's too big, I'm not going to take it. But if there's small things, they'll take like 5 of the small things that is like equivalent to like
2
of the
big ones. Right?
But they're fine with that.
I have no problem with that math. I will take
Yes.
5.
Yeah.
You guys bake and I will get baked and I will take 5.
I just discovered, because I love carrots. Carrots are my favorite vegetable, and I'm always looking for interesting things to do with them that don't take where I want the most work I do with my carrots being the peeling of them. And I found a carrot soup with ginger and peanut butter that I just put, and I made this last night. So it's like, I'm still tasting it and I still have plenty in the fridge, but I didn't have to saute anything. I just threw all the ingredients in and then used the immersion blender. And I decided that that's going to be, you know how everybody loves tomato soup and grilled cheese? My new favorite comfort food is going to be this carrot soup and grilled cheese because no work and smooth and delicious.
So another carrot thing,
yes.
Roasted carrot sticks. So, you know, like sweet potato fries?
Right.
Same thing, but with carrots.
I always burn them.
Really? I just like douse them in the olive oil, roast them, and I do like I'll tend to do like Moroccan style spices with them, like garlic and then like a little bit of cinnamon and cumin and all the other, you know, good things, and then just kind of watch them and, you know.
What I think it's because I try and make them in the air fryer. There's like 30 seconds if you go over. They go from soft to matchsticks.
No, I do them in the oven, but you can also braise them on the stovetop. There's a great recipe from the New York Times that that I've used, and those are also really, really easy, really delicious. A great side for Thanksgiving, actually.
I love soup and carrots.
Any dinner.
So I have a similar comfort soup to you. It's carrots, but they're just basically like cubed, like chunks, and then it's like the can of tomatoes that you zhuzher, right? A little bit extra salt, some celery, but it's like carrot base. And then it's like baby bow ties, and then you turn it up, and then you let those bow ties get too big, and you let them expand. And then like when I'm when I'm not feeling well, this is like one of my jams. It's just a carrot like tomatoey, but really the noodle smush. I think it only works with bow ties. I don't know why.
So you take the carrots and then a can of tomatoes, and you mix them together. It's a carrot
can of well, I zhuzher the tomatoes, so you turn it into like that soup base, and then I guess whatever other, you know, season to taste with whatever you want. But then it's just a boatload of just chunked up carrots that cook in this broth. So it's a carroty tomato broth, and you have that, like, you know, when you find a carrot in like the right kind of jarred tomato sauce, and you're like, oh, that's fun, and you're like, why is a carrot in there? I don't know, but it makes sense. So with the noodle, and it has to be just a little bit of celery too, because you need that kind of whatever. But with the noodle, it's like it's like a goulash without the meat or the potatoes or the anything else. So it's like straight carb and carrot and then savory tomato. I'm gonna make it now.
I love getting things like dumplings or even ravioli and just putting them in soup.
Oh yeah,
because it just makes everything better.
I have a soup that when my grandmother would make as a child, where it would just be elbow macaroni, stewed tomatoes that she would get in a can, and butter. And it's like, if I eat that, it brings me back to, 4 years old. And it's like, I can eat that all day. And it tastes delicious, but it sounds terrible. And it's like a lot of butter. It's like, a whole stick in a whole big batch of it. But if I'm feeling like down, in fact, I probably should make some now, but if I'm feeling like I'm sick, it's like such comfort food that I go, oh, I just feel like I'm home.
I think we all relate with like every one of those like kind of noodly, soupy, like we had, everybody had a grandma that gave us a noodle soup.
I think it's because they couldn't. It's they had a grocery store in Michigan. They were from Bay City, and I think it just when I think about at the time in like the 30s and 40s, it's like what were the ingredients they probably had on hand? She was like, I'm inventive. I'm going to use butter. And I'm going to use this. And I'm like, but it's so good. It's so delicious.
My grandmother made cremettes, macaroni, butter, and sugar. That was like
sugar.
When I was a kid, I would like beg to go to her house so that she would make me, and I would eat it cold. I would eat it hot. It didn't matter. It was just like the best thing ever. And I was like, what does she do? Why is this so good?
Sugar.
There is very clearly a Midwestern connection in this conversation.
We're all of Michigan born.
Yeah.
My mom, your mom.
Michigan born. So
child of Michigan born.
How funny. I left when I was 8 and everyone's always like, where are you from? I'm like,
yeah, totally.
But I don't think you can take the Midwestern, like even if you, like I was telling Debra this, I said, even if your parent was from Michigan and you're like once removed, twice removed, whatever, I think that Midwest sensibility, like there's something that's charming and warm and friendly, and you just can't shake that out of somebody. My husband's always like, why are you saying hi to everybody? And I'm like, it's in my DNA. I don't know. I'm like, I can't help it.
Do you talk to people in the grocery store? Because that's a Midwest thing. All day. Freaks. I live on the East Coast now, and it just freaks out every store I go to. I'm like, how you doing? And they're like, I just.
I'm in LA.
Is that normal?
Not normal. No, you don't talk to people in stores. Freak out.
I'm like friendliest person ever. Like people are always like, what is happening? I find out about their life, what's going on, and I realize I've become my mother. And in fact, when I tuned into this video here, I looked at the screen and I was like, is my mother in this call? I feel like I'm looking like her as well too. So now that the circle has completely closed.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
She is nice. She's actually a really wonderful lady. So I will be lucky to be like her. But it's you can't help but not be nice when you're from Michigan. I don't know why, but it's true.
Yeah, I was very lucky to have been. I was raised in the Chicago suburbs by a Michigan mom, and yes, all the credit, especially when you're Midwesterner in LA. Mm-hmm. You're like, it's the best of both worlds because you get to be a Midwesterner and you get to live in LA.
Oh, maybe not anymore. It's very bad here right now. It's not great. It's not great at all.
But it's still LA. We are still the cross section of entertainment, business, and tech, and all of the good things and food. So that's why somebody once said, New York's the melting pot. California is the salad.
Ooh.
So
the salad,
different people and cultures.
California should be what you add to a plate to make it look good, and then you put it aside.
The garnish. The garnish.
That's like,
are you calling us the garnish?
Sprig of parsley.
No. California is not good. It's not good.
Well, there's a Yiddish word called gornish, which means like gornish. So there you go. We are just morphing into it. I was in LA a couple weeks ago. I'm there a couple times a year. It has lost a lot of its charm, but there are so many people there and there's so many things to do. It's still kind of,
Yeah,
the problem is the crime is too high and it's dirty.
Okay. We're getting off track. Don't be hating on LA.
Don't visit. Come visit me on the East Coast. Everybody's invited for dinner at some point. I'll have a good time.
And the next time you're in LA, CW, I was talking to a friend of mine who said the next time Kosher Guy's in LA, I've got a list. So
we've been to all of them. We'd love to see the list. We've done them all.
Well, this has been it. And Aaron, of course, if you're ever out in my beautiful LA, at least in my head, you'll have to let us know. In the meantime, the time flew by like we didn't expect it to. I would love for you all to gift a goal to the audience. So what is one thing that they can do for a holiday or for any day to just, what are good cooking goals for them? And I have a feeling I know what CW is going to say, but please feel free to surprise me.
Well, I would say I was thinking about this. I would say that if you can kind of have like a good sort of stocked pantry. When I say stocked pantry, I mean like having things like flour, butter, which you can keep in the freezer like all the time, sugar, vanilla, have lemons in your refrigerator just like at all times, cocoa powder, chocolate chips. You never have to I just think there's nothing sadder than brownie mix. Like brownies, like they're so easy to make homemade and they taste like exponentially better than like the best brownie mix out there. But if you have like a basic, like a good, just like stocked working pantry, you can make so many things. And so I would say like, if you want to like, if you're a cook that wants to, or if you're not a cook and you want to become one, or you want to cook more, like really just try to like upgrade like the food that you have on hand. There's so many great things that can be made from, for example, the idea of like jarred tomato sauce to me is just like the weirdest thing in the world, because I have cans of like whole peeled tomatoes, and like making a marinara sauce takes about like 30 minutes. And again, it's going to taste exponentially better than like the stuff from a jar. So there's so many like great basic things that you can make if you have a well-stocked pantry. So that's my goal, is like everybody have a really good stocked pantry so that you can use that as a base to make so many wonderful things.
I'm still stuck on there's nothing sadder than brownie mix, and I am so with you on that. But you're right. You need the ingredients in order to make the things.
Yeah.
Or you can use BakeBot if you don't have an ingredient. You walk over there. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
And so, Babette, what goal do you want to gift?
I would say one thing I started doing before I got sick was I started going for long walks in the morning by myself for like hour and a half long walks. And I live in an area that's a canyon. So I can go like from one side of the canyon all the way around and loop around. It's like this beautiful loop, but there's like beautiful homes, and there's, just lots of nature and lots of animals and squirrels. And it's really interesting. And there's all these different levels. So it's like you're getting different perspectives. But I listened to something that's not business related to what I'm working on. I listened to something that's totally not related to what I'm doing. So I'm like, it's like something that I have for myself completely, so that by the time I come home and it's like, 8:30, or, it's like the morning hasn't even begun for most people. It's like I've already have gone through the mental like clearinghouse of like all the things I'm thinking about and that I want to do, and that I'm like, if I'm upset or if I'm happy or whatever, I've already gone through that like emotional journey through the whole walk. And I physically have like fought through it all. That by the time I get home, I'm like, my energy's up. I'm in a great mood. I feel like I can conquer the day, and it's completely changed my entire day. So I think, and I have dogs, so it's like, I still have to walk my dogs after, but instead of me, rationalizing and go, well, I got to go take the dogs for a walk and I feel guilty, I should take them too, because they're too slow. I can't walk as fast. Doing something
I like starting your day with a clear head, but not really a cooking or baking goal.
Yeah. Well, you were not clear.
Yeah.
Okay. A cooking or baking goal has to be themed. Okay. I would say,
I'll keep that as a bonus goal, but let's pretend we're talking about food.
I think last time you made it open. I would say don't leave your dishes overnight. We'll always wake up in the morning with a clean sink. Mm-hmm. Is that okay? That's just, it starts your day off nicely. It's the same thing, clearing your head.
That's
okay.
You.
I will work on it. I like them. They kind of,
even when you're tired, do the dishes, because especially when you wake up in the morning, like there's just nothing. It's like being a child again when you got up and like your mom cleaned, you know, it's like you're like, hey, this is great. You just will start your day off much better. And my husband, I make him tea every morning when he doesn't ask for it. If you can do something like that for your spouse or your significant other or your friend or your child, like there's something that makes their day start off right, even if they're in a bad mood, you know, whatever it is, it'll add a nice little element to your day.
Okay. See, 3 goals for the price of 1. I love it. Bargain.
Yeah, I know. It's like the miniature food versus one big piece.
CW, what food cooking?
Well, those are all wonderful goals that I would like to kind of, you know, add on to. I mean, if you have a great larder or you just have like your basic setup, don't get complicated. There's so many things you can make out of so many simple things. And then you could, you know, clear your head in the morning, make sure your dishes are clean, and then go to BakeBot and figure it out. My only addition would be like along those lines is learn how the fundamentals. So how do you turn on the oven to the temperature? How do you know your hot spots or cold spots? Just know how to take a pan and cook a bunch of things in one pan. You don't need 100 pans. Learn your one pan. And most importantly, Deb knows, learn how to roast a chicken is always like my number one thing. That you can impress everybody with a roasted chicken, and it's the easiest thing to do. And it's usually pretty
But
delicious.
can you put it in a waffle iron?
You know, by the way, chicken and waffles can happen. Imagine a chicken tender inside the waffle batter inside the thing. That can be done. Let's go.
Make chicken in your waffles. I like that as a bonus goal.
We did a thing for Thanksgiving where we made Thanksgiving leftovers. We did a whole post on it where that was one of the ideas, where you basically take all of your stuffing and everything, put it in a waffle maker.
Gravy on top. Gravy on top. See, everything in the waffle maker.
See, I just like making like stuffing waffles as like the bread. That works, right? It's such a hunger-inducing, fabulous conversation. Friends, where can people learn more about you? Aaron?
So you can go to my website, aaronhamburger.com, or you can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, Blue Sky. I am on Twitter. I will not call it the other thing, although I don't post as much there anymore, and LinkedIn. But yeah, my website is a great gateway place.
Awesome. And Babette?
Sure. You can find me. The website is bakespace.com. If you go to the site and click on the BakeBot link, you'll be able to try BakeBot for free. Also, there's bakebotpro.com, and I'm on social media. I'm on X. I feel like I should just go and just try it, you know. I'm on Instagram, TikTok. It's at Bakespace everywhere. And I would love to connect.
Awesome. And CW?
Thank you. I am found under Tripping Kosher wherever the internet is sold and on all platforms, including the 2 aforementioned. Really just a space. Usually the YouTube. If you want to go to YouTube, go to Tripping Kosher. YouTube is probably the easiest way to really access most of the information that we provide. We're here to have fun and educate and entertain and eat, but that's pretty much it. Tripping Kosher.
And you can find me at the Deb Method everywhere. And if you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, you will get the recap, the replay, and the highlights and the goals. And if you need a little bit of help with your goals or a lot, you can grab a copy of your goal guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals at your favorite place to buy books. And you can also pre-order 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting to get that inspiration and motivation you need to make your life, cooking or otherwise, that much better. Really fun conversation. What final thought would you all like to leave our audience with today? Babette, final thought?
Well, I should have just said my go for a walk now. You know what? I make 2025 like your best year ever. it's having conversations like this, meeting new people and taking opportunities and, being open to discussion and chatting with people always brings new friendships. And hopefully that Midwest heart will go through the screen and into your life. I don't know. No, 2025 is going to be a great year. It's going to be, it's going to be awesome. We're starting the year off strong. Everything's going to be positive and it's all going to be good.
Well, I do start the new year in December, so I completely endorse.
Well, my birthday's in March, so I'm gearing down to the rev up.
Awesome.
I'll celebrate your birthday too.
CW, final thought?
I just want to keep stealing Babette's answers. I mean, 20. Listen, we've all had a bunch of really weird years, whatever side of whatever conversation you've been on. There's just been noise, and we're all of a certain kind of age where we can see what happened before the noise and now the noise. Yeah. Now we have to learn to transcend the noise and just be happy. The line between unhappy and happy is just a line. So if you're 0.01% above that line, you're officially happy, however unhappy you may feel. So just get above that line and just be hunky-dory. Hunky-dory, as my Midwest, affiliate would say. Just be hunky-dory.
I like it.
I really love that. As someone who is releasing a book, which is based on inspiring joy and helping you live your best life through the 52 secrets, of which I interviewed 60 experts to get their best tips for goal setting and goal getting. I'm with you. Embrace the life you have and do what you need to make it all good. Aaron, final thought?
So I will, dovetail on everything that's been said. You cannot fight darkness with more darkness. And there's a lot of darkness in our world today, and we need to shine more light on it. And, I'll just tell two quick little things that happened when my dog was dying about a year and a half ago, and I was driving him to the vet, and we were going kind of slow because he was in the back seat, and there was this car tailgating behind me that was anxious to pass. And finally, the driver managed to pull up alongside me. She rolled down her window and she yelled, "You're a fucking moron!" And then she slammed on the accelerator and cruised way ahead. And she didn't know that there was like a story there. A little while afterward, when my dog did pass away, I happened to be in CVS, had to get something, and I was kind of just going through the motions. And the person who was working at CVS just said to me, "I just hope you have a wonderful day," and gave me this warm smile. And I almost broke down in tears. Anybody you are passing, they may just be hanging on and they just need just a smile, a Midwestern joyous smile. So let's just all have that be the default rather than this sort of reactive America that I think we're all kind of living in. And we can all transform that one person at a time.
As much as I agreed with everybody else, I'm going to agree with you even more. Yes, it is. All we can do is be our best people, and you can all be honorary Midwesterners and have that spirit of conversation and joy and light. Because the only thing we actually have control over in this world is ourselves and the way in which we take action and treat others. So I love how off the rails this conversation on cooking went. So thank you all so much for this. Aaron and CW and Babette, and thank you for tuning in to GoalChat. I am live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can follow me at The Deb Method everywhere. And again, if you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, you can get the recaps and the links. I include the LinkedIns as well as the websites and your goals. So your goal is to bring joy into the world, because and what brings more joy than cooking and food and being with others. So thank you all. You've got your cooking and not so cooking goals. So go on out there and go for it, because we know you can do it.